prescribing. And the other thing is this. How often do you go to a doctor's office and demand immediate response for the patient records?
Approximately 20 to 40 times out of the 7,000 to 8,000 complaints we get a year. If we believe that the provider is operating a pill mill, we will conduct generally a joint investigation with either DPS or DEA, and we will show up unannounced, which the statute expressly allows. And we will copy the medical records right then and there because we believe that they will alter or destroy the records.
Okay. And how many times do you show up with the DEA and not tell them that the DEA is with you?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. If there are people standing there, I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Well, I mean, when they show up, they say, we're with the Texas Medical Board, period.
That is what we do for our part. The DEA has their own responsibility for their joint investigation. And
the DEA doesn't say anything, and they just go right in there. And the fact of the matter is, then what happens is, then when you have an attorney show up and say, I want to see credentials, all of a sudden then they find, oh, we got two people with the DEA here. You don't find that an unconstitutional search through fraudulent non-disclosure?
Well, I don't find anything that we did to be an unconstitutional search because our search is
Did your investigators not know that they had DEA agents with them?
May I answer your first question?
Sure.
No, I do not find it unconstitutional because we are expressly allowed to show up, do inspection, and demand the records that day, and we make a copy of it. And we leave them the original records through our subpoena authority, which are statutorily allowed and have been upheld in our court system. Now, in relation to what the DEA does, I can't tell you. I don't control the DEA. The DEA does not answer to me in how they conduct their investigation. Now, what they are telling an individual or what they do is their own deal. We do not go in and pretend to be investigating for the DEA, and we are not there for the DEA. We are there for ourselves. We often conduct joint investigations because they are also concerned about a practitioner being a pill mill and providing drugs to children on the street. So what they do is up to them, and it's up to their own legal standards. They obviously do not answer to me.
And you don't think your staff has a responsibility that when they show up, say, we're with the Texas Medical Board, and these people are with the DEA?
Sir, I think my staff has responsibility for their job, not the DEA's job.
Well, let me
ask you, yeah. Do y'all show up together? Is that what I'm getting?
Absolutely.
We do joint investigations about 20 to 40 times a year. And a part of this relates to they will have ongoing undercover buys. And you will recall in the slides that I gave you that these are incredibly dangerous offices quite often. You'll recall the picture that I showed you with bulletproof glass and the receptionist that had a Glock. Our officers are not peace officers. They don't carry issued guns. They don't have any way to deal with that kind of violence.
So DEA does carry guns?
DEA are commissioned peace officers. So we do joint investigations with them, and they do their piece of the investigation, and we do ours.
So I think one of the things that might help is, just in general, like I don't know the specific complaint.
Well, they've already determined this was not a pill mill, and what it boils down to is this: you have an unconstitutional search by the DEA based on writing in with the Texas Medical Board. Because ultimately what it boils down to, when the attorney showed up, he said, I want to see the IDs. All these people were the DEA. We said, we're not giving you any more records. They tried to take it to court. The court denied the request because they said, we don't see any evidence of a problem here.
DEA
you see, that's the problem. Here's the problem. They are allowing a warrantless search of patients' records. When the fact of the matter is in the state of Texas, apparently under Mary Robinson, we have no expectation of privacy. We have no expectation of protection by the Fourth Amendment because they're writing in with the DEA and not disclosing it.
The Fourth Amendment only applies to criminal law enforcement. We are civil law enforcement, and the authority that we go and gather these records on was expressly granted through the Senate bill that created the Pill Mill Inspection Authority and vested it with the board. Now, what the DEA does is obviously not something that I can control. And if somebody...
You can control it when they ride in with you.
Well, but Mary, do they have the ability to be with you at that point that we give you the express authority?
They're not coming in under our authority,
They're coming
Madam
in
Chair.
in
They
under
have their
their-
own authority.
Okay.
They
But
have
they're
their
coming in
own
with them.
DEA Federal Inspection Authority. That's why I'm saying their investigation is a separate entity from ours. They have rights that we don't have, just like we have rights that they don't have.
But you said y'all do them jointly pretty often or not so
It's
often?
20 to 40 times a year out of the 8,000-ish complaints we get.
So there's that balance. You know, we've obviously talked about pill mills in this committee, and we've seen legislation.
This was not a pill mill. They knew it from the very first start they got in there.
So you think it was harassment?
I think
Intimidation.
I think they were looking for something, and the deal is when you allow this to go on without any kind of protections in place, you open it up for all kinds of stuff. Here's the problem, pure and simple. I get stuff from people who work for the medical board. I'll give you this one. The medical board has become a rogue agency, unchecked and ineffective, and possesses a liability to the state of Texas rather than serving the public health of people. The problem is when they get into all this other stuff, then you have things like this, where it took them a year to take away the license of a neurosurgeon who had killed 2 patients, severely injured 4 more. You have some more like this, where in essence you have 2 doctors who'd molested their children, took them a year to deal with their license, and psychiatrists who were sleeping with their patients took them a year to deal with that. At the same time, they're going in looking through, well, just like I say, this particular case, 9,750 pages of patient records. I'm assuming somebody at the medical board is going to look through that. Not the patient wasn't injured, 0 evidence of non-therapeutic prescribing, and the fact of the matter is they're doing that.
Okay,
At the same time, all this other stuff is going on. They're majoring on the minors. In the meantime, we have doctors that are hurting people, and it takes them a year to deal with it.
Okay, so let me follow up with a couple of questions on that, because